Group Captain Sadiq Garba Shehu retired. He's a security consultant and CEO of Conflict Security and Development Consultancy Limited. Good morning to you, Group Captain.
Good morning.
Okay, thank you very much for making the time for us. So I got to jump in with both feet. We don't even have any time more for preambles. Talking about the ongoing protest against hardships in the country, recently the military found it necessary to issue warnings. So let me start from there. Give me your impression or what you think about the propriety or otherwise of the military. Everybody's talking about the fundamental human rights of Nigerians to act responsibly and all of that. The military, tell me your impression of the military coming into the matter.
Well, thank you very much. Every country has its own constitutional rules that guides how the military should behave in democracy. Apart from the international differences in different countries, there are global best practices. In Nigeria specifically, the military is created. Its main function is to defend the country against external aggression, against external enemies. However, in the same constitution, section 217, I think subsection 8, talks about the military giving assistance to civil authorities in case where there is an insurrection. So under this rubric, which does not exist in other countries, the federal government or the civilian authorities can call on the military to come and provide support during cases of emergency. These emergencies could be natural disasters, they could be internal security operations, but the provision is that those internal security operations are, subsidiary responsibilities of the military to be done under civil authorities and in accordance with the rule of the law. So if the federal government calls on the military to come and assist in a matter that is probably law and order or law enforcement, there is space for that in our constitution. However, there are guidelines that need to underline how the military behaves in such situations.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Group Captain, because you've actually started off by sort of telling us what role the military should have. Now, have you, again, because of your professional background and how you see things, do you think we have reached the stage as we speak now where there is a need for the military to be talking about this? I said, do you think that in our country right now, given the state of the protest, do you think we've reached that stage where the military indeed should be coming into the matter and issuing some warnings?
Again, I'll answer this by saying in all the training that is given to military personnel, including even police and other civilian personnel, like for example, in the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Chiji, there is an exercise called exercise HASKBU. It is supposed to simulate an internal security operation where ideally we know it is the work of the police and other authorities like civil defense, like DSS, but where the situation, goes above the level with which these other security agencies can handle it, then the military can be called in. In that exercise, what is called, it is a gradual entry. The first people to be on the ground is the police or the civil defense, as the case may be. Then, if the level of violence or the level of action, whether it is protesters, whether it is bandits or whatever, if it is judged, and this judgment, ideally, in a situation, will be done by the police authorities.
Exactly.
That, look, this situation is beyond us.
Exactly.
If they make that beyond us, they will make their return to the political authorities, and the political authorities, under that section 2178, I said, will call on the military to intervene. So ideally, we are supposed to be seeing a gradual, entry. But of course, again, Nigeria will have a very complex situation. Maybe probably because while this is what is taught, on the ground, in most cases, you find that the police, the military, the civil defense, everybody arrives at the same time. So this confuses the situation and pushes back our theory and our practice.
Indeed, because as you've just said, I'm going to deduce from that the army specifically has to be invited in by the police. And I don't know that we've seen the army on the ground in the midst of these protests like that, because you just spoke about sometimes we have these joint security forces that includes...
Hello, please, your voice in the background is a bit low. I don't know whether you hear me.
Okay, we're working on that because I'm speaking at the tone at which you were able to hear me before, okay. So we're working on that. I was saying that I'm happy you just confirmed that the military, well, at least that was my inference from what you said, has to be specifically invited in. And in this time when everybody is, working towards the successful resolution of this thing, the last thing we want to do is to sort of escalate our tensions. Are you aware, because I am not, that the military has been specifically invited in, or is the military being preemptive in this comment that they have made?
Well, if there is any communication that involves the military, it is going to be an internal communication, and I will not be in the, I will not be in the loop to know whether they have been given that order. But I am giving you specifically what doctrine and training suggests. It is the political authorities that will decide, based on what the police told them, that this situation has reached a stage where the police can no longer. But in any case, the military should not, will not, on its own decide just to deploy just because going. In fact, if the military will have this saying that there is no voluntary in the military. What does it mean in the strictest sense? If the political authorities, especially since we are under a democracy, do not tell the military to go in, the military can just remain in their barrack and be watching. So again, I emphasize that I would not know whether that information has been given. Even if it is given, it is going to be an internal communication between the political authorities. But in principle, in doctrine, that is how it is supposed to be. There will be that order. And it's good that you even emphasize this. Because you see, in every day we get wiser and we learn lessons. I am somebody who keeps, records on all these things that happen. Let's take back to the infamous Lekki massacre, or what I want to call it. There was a real confusion at the time because when the military deployed and there was great pushback from national and international authorities, it is on record that the governor of Lagos State, who was the person who asked for the military to deploy, came out and said, I didn't ask for the military to come. So to me, as a former military man, I think the Nigerian military has learned bitter lessons from NSAS. You go, but you have to be able to say that this is the political authority that told me to deploy. The governor in Lagos State during this, he clearly disowned the military, even though we know he did the request for the military to intervene. So for the local military commander or for the military institution, there is even safeguard in waiting to be called by the authorities to intervene.
Clearly, like most Nigerians, if not all Nigerians, you're keeping your ear to the ground, and the military has had reason to speak specifically on the whole concept of government change. They've been under this concept of freedom of speech. You've seen placards. Some people even are adding a voice to it, audio recordings, and are spreading these ideas around. So much so that there's now the whole conversation online that there's only one way that there will be government change. And we're talking here about this anti-hardship protest, and suddenly it's now become a matter about government change. Now the military has spoken and has said that no single individual in the military formations is going to be open to that idea at all. They've had reason to speak that they are completely loyal to the people of Nigeria. Of course, the commander-in-chief, the president and commander-in-chief, the president, commander-in-chief, and the people of Nigeria. And because of that, they've said that nobody in the military is going to countenance such. Now, speak to me about that, the army statement there, and them feeling there was a need for it, because some of the things that protesters say, the authorities just ignore it. But then when you combine this with what we have seen of foreign flags, in particular the Russian flag being flown by some youths who you can wager don't even know the import of what they are doing. Go on, speak to me about this whole concept about...
Sorry, please, your voice is trailing. I don't know whether it is...
Well, I finished with my question. I said, speak to me, please, about the concept of the military not being interested and will not countenance any talk of a government change. And couple that with flags flying, Russian flag flying, at least that one is the most prominent. Russia has denied that it has anything to do with it or that it has any knowledge. But what does this say to you? When you look at those who are flying the flags, you see clearly that it's doubtful whether they know the import of what they are doing.
Well, first, let me address the issue of the military, coming out to say that they are not going to be in support of any undemocratic change or the call. Ideally, in a democracy, you wouldn't even hear the ministry talking about that. I emphasize ideally because probably, again, we have to look at the context. I want to believe the military took time to come and make this clear statement based on the fact that among the protesters, maybe not all, some are saying in Hausa, Soja muke so. I'm from the Hausa-speaking part of the country, and I know that is, we want the military to come back. So maybe looking at it in that aspect, the military needs to come back to first to dissuade those people who think that the military can come back, that the military cannot come back. And secondly, the political masters, the politicians, they would like to hear from the military a sort of assurance that you are not going to pander to what these people, whether misguided or not, are saying. But like I said, ideally, that wouldn't even be necessary. But given the context we are, there is the need to dissuade the callers for the military to return and also to reassure. So based on that, we may excuse the military for coming out to make that statement. On the issue of carrying a flag, well, I am not a lawyer myself, but my operations sometimes takes me at the intersection between security operations and and the law. So words to the effect of treason have been used. In my own humble opinion, I think the determination where an act has reached the level of treason is a legal determination. And I think our criminal act, I can't remember the section, but I read it up somewhere. It has a definition of what treason is. Why I say this is very necessary, because when you accuse somebody of treason in our laws, the penalty for treason is death. And I think the last time we had of treason being mentioned in Nigeria, I think it was during the military regime. Those people that were called for, were accused of the military officers that took part in coup, they were charged with treason and they were shot. So if you are going to make such an offense, I think a good legal determination ought to be done. Right now, I've listened to the lawyers. I have my own opinion. There is no unanimity whether the act of sowing a flag, distributing a flag, waving a flag, whether it amounts to the level of treason. However, you can say that given the geopolitical situation that is happening in our neighboring countries, it is something that will scare the security agencies when people are, making allusion to the fact that they want to see what is happening in Niger or Mali happening in Nigeria. But as to whether that has reached the level of treason, I am doubtful about that. But the lawyers will have to look at the criminal court has helped us. It has talked about treason and explain what treason is, as well as the consequences for treason. But all the same, the people could be, charged for other offenses, but I do not think it is up to the level of treason.
Okay.
Which is punishable by death, I must say.
Yes. Even as we are sort of exploring the appropriateness or otherwise of the military coming in, and thank you very much for your insights, there are those that are saying that, again, you get a lot of communication online. It's a brand new world in which we live, where every last opinion is served, whether you like it or not, into your hand, into the palm of your hands, via social media. Now, for those that are opining that the military is quote unquote anti-people, I would imagine that the military has a job of work to do. They have their responsibilities, but the military is in the midst of all of this, whether they want to be or not, simply because people have dragged them in. What would be your sort of commentary on that charge that the military is being anti-people?
Yes, thank you very much. The role of the military in a civilian or in democratic dispensation, especially when there is a conflict that pitches either the current government, the subsisting government, the political leader, and the civilians, is a very challenging position for a military man. Because one of the aspects of how the military should behave in a democracy is being apolitical and neutral in all things that can be interpreted as a political opinion or a political decision or a political support. On the one hand, the military stands the risk of being not seen, especially when people are talking of military coup, of being not seen by the political masters as not supporting the government in times of need against elements which have been variously defined as political entrepreneurs, as pure criminals, depending on who you listen to. That is one risk that the military faces. On the other hand, the military also faces the risk of being seen as anti-people and as a tool of repression for protection of the regime rather than protection of the constitution. So it is a very delicate balance. And with due respect, I have watched my political colleagues in uniform trying to navigate this very difficult terrain. Sometimes in navigating this difficult terrain, there's tendency to fall on one extreme or the other. So it is really a very difficult. It is not made easy by the fact that our political masters themselves, they don't know what it means for a military to be apolitical. What it means for a military to be apolitical is that anything that has semblance of being seen as supporting one party or supporting pro-government or supporting the military is supposed to be silent. And the political masters should not expect, they should not push the military to make statements. If you have that, all the military knows what is legal order. Military knows the chain of command. Military knows how they are to deploy or not to deploy. But making pronouncements, unfortunately, when the military starts making pronouncements, they run the risk of being interpreted either anti-people, like you said, and pro-government, or again, being seen as not supporting the government. The military man will always support the government, but in doing so, he is not expected to be talking this and talking that and talking this. When there is a situation, just like the Constitution said, there's an internal security operation. Police are sent, DSS are sent, the military will go back to its own barrack and make contingency plans. It is up to the political masters to make the decision that this situation has surpassed what the police cannot do. Military come in. And when military come in, based on the training they are given, they know how to try and control the situation within the confines of laws, both national and international. One thing I picked and what I liked from the president's speech, was it on the second, on the 3rd of August? Almost, I think the second to the last statement is that he enjoins the security forces to maintain law and order, but through applying national and international human rights law with Nigeria. That's a very pregnant statement. To me, it means that the person that wrote that particular part knows that the military will come in. For the military commander, it's a very easy thing. You come and do your work, but you do your work in accordance with the laws, and we can even take it further and say that if you do your work not in accordance with rules and regulations of international humanitarian law, the president has told, the president did not give you that order. It's like you are on your own.
Okay.
That is the real issue.
Okay. Okay, let me slip in. Good morning, Mr. George. Mr. George has called in from Lagos. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in. Good morning.
Good morning to the group captain.
Yes.
Uncle Yori, earlier in the week, when we were discussing this issue on this program, I told you that this whole thing about the protest is political, and that is politically motivated.
Yeah.
You openly disagreed with me. But you can see now that even the DSS has issued a statement confirming our suspicions. And as the military man there is also saying, it is very evident that this is beyond protest. What they want is regime change. Uncle Yori, for the past 1 month, if you have been reading what is going on social media, the presidential candidate in the last election, you see what he has been tweeting about protests, about how to ground the country. And you will see another presidential candidate in the same election supporting the protesters, warning the government about trying to, quell the protest. What do you call that? Protesters are carrying flags of another country. And the people that are carrying the flag, the DSS itself has now said that they have arrested some people. That is good. But my concern, Uncle Yori, this matter may not just go beyond hearing that some people have been arrested. We want to know these people. Let us name and shame them. The government, I'm afraid, It's too lenient on offenders. And if they continue like this, I don't know what will happen, but it is not the right thing. When somebody commits an offense, he should be made to pay for it. That's the only way for it to serve as a deterrent to those other ones who want to do the same thing. But to handle it with levity, it will not bring the desired result.
Okay.
Nobody says we should not protest. If you are aggrieved against the workings of the government, you have every right to express it. But you don't have the right to become, a nuisance to your fellow man. The truth must be told.
All right then,
Thank
Mr.
you,
George.
Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. Okay, I think I should just take a break now. We'll be right back to continue with Group Captain Garba Shehu, Sadiq Garba Shehu, retired. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back. Just joined us for whatever reason. We've been on air for a while, and we've been looking at the military and security agencies reiterating their commitment to defend democracy. Such is the extent to which the hardship protests have gotten, and we've been, taking perspectives. Okay, but also just to tell you that if we do have to cut away, we will, because in Anambra State, there is a youth empowerment scheme that is being launched, but we're on air for now. And when that time comes, whenever it does come, you can still continue to watch us on our YouTube channel. Chiji in Kapanchan, good morning to you, sir. Do we still have Chidi in Kapanchan?
Yes. Good morning. Good morning to you in the studio.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. Good morning to your guest.
Yes.
Uncle Yori, in fact, as it is being seen, the situation in Nigeria as it is today is gradually slipping out of the hands of the government. I would like to call on the government under President Tinubu to go for all-out pacification of Nigerians. Because without that, the military that are holding specific functions, which are expected to be apolitical, these are not the people that may cause any problem for Nigeria. It is what is called in the military parlance the fifth columnist. And indeed, you and I and every other reasonable thinking Nigeria must understand that we have a fifth columnist, as it were. Therefore, the government must have to be proactive and do things positively in order to help Nigerians to avert a looming danger. Thank you very much, and God bless Nigeria.
Hello, Chidi, are you through? I wonder if there was a cut. Group Captain, did you hear that?
Yes, I think it's an opinion he expressed.
Yeah.
Rather than a question that the government should look at Supreme Court. Well, we'll give the security agencies, the DSS, the police benefit of doubt. What I recall, because when such things are happening by virtue of my own vocation, I follow the debate, line by line, day by day, day by day. I remember, even before the process started, the Inspector General of Police said that they have information that there are mercenaries or foreigners that are involved. And I just read, I think from yesterday to today, that the DSS has arrested some foreigners. However, for the good of the country and for credibility of the government, I will
just to interrupt very briefly. Just to interrupt very briefly, Group Captain, just to say that, as I said when we returned from that break, that we might be cutting off to Anambra, where ongoing is a youth empowerment scheme. In fact, that's what you see there. But we will continue here. Keep the calls coming. You can continue to watch us in diaspora and other areas on our YouTube channel. Okay, so back to you, Group Captain. Sorry that I had to interrupt for direction there. Continue, please.
Columnist, information has been passed even before the protest started. That there are some foreign elements, and now we hear that some arrests have been made. But sometimes in Nigeria, what always increases the distrust between the people and the government is that when these issues are raised, then they die quietly. You never know, is it true people have been arrested and who are they? So please, I want the security agencies, if they made this, for the credibility, expose these people, let the people know them. Let's not have the usual attitude that, okay, today we had, because I had some Polish people from Poland have been arrested. These people should be displayed. People should see them. So that when next the security agencies, because I am talking frankly here, when security agencies make this, announcement, because of the already existing mistrust between the government and the governed, I can say maybe 50% of people do not even believe these stories.
All right.
So for credibility's sake, you should, follow the thing to the logical conclusion and show people empirical evidence that these people have been arrested and they are foreigners. In fact, if the government agencies are able to prove that there are foreigners there, I am sure no reasonable Nigerian would like foreigners to come and be involved in our domestic affairs. That will give the government the much needed support it needs. But if the thing goes like that, just an announcement, but there's no proof, nothing shown, people will say this another lie altogether.
Okay, let me bring in Funshaw. Thank you for holding on, Mr. Funshaw in Minna.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Holding in.
Good morning to your guest.
To Group Captain Garba Shehu.
Group Captain, good morning. Yeah. You see,
good morning.
We thank God. God has let this protest a little bit subsided. But let's be sincere to ourselves. Some of these our human rights activists in Nigeria, they are even foiling a lot of things because I cannot understand. Instead of them to tell us the reality, they will keep on giving negative about the country, negative about the government. They are there to guide the government and the citizen. You can see them. They will tell them everybody has right to protest. Really, it is entrenched in the Nigerian constitution. But the right where your right end, you some start. If I don't want to go on protest, it is not mandatory. But why will you ask me to go out by force? All these issues we address. Coming to the issue of flag, you see, I don't know how. Another thing is the lawyers. Our lawyers. This one explained this way. This one explained this way. You see, we are not fools in this country. Some people are behind these things, coming out to use one corner way to talk on television or social media. No, if the wall start, everybody will take off. All these people that we are seeing, they have double citizenship, they have double passport. They can live. It is the poor masses that is going to bear the big brunt of this thing. So my own is all these people that are caught in this act. It's plainly brought to book as the book captain said. Let them see their faces and know that the government is doing the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Funshaw, calling in from Minna there. Group Captain, just before we took that call, you were pointing out some things that our security machinery needs to consider. For instance, oftentimes they don't give complete information, and one imagines that, as we've heard in the case of the police, although the police are not the only people that are part of the security architecture, it's in order not to jeopardize their investigations. For instance, the other time, I think the statement was told that they are sure that there are people, abroad, in diaspora, that are funding this, but no names. But they did say that they had frozen their bank accounts, that some bank accounts had been blocked. This sort of balancing between doing their job professionally, and because they're professional, they don't want to compromise their investigations, and the right of the people, as you just suggested, also their interest for sake of credibility, how do they balance this? Because I don't know, you're probably aware of the fact that over in the UK, for instance, they have an ongoing trouble. They have their rules that if a person of interest or a suspect is below the age of the majority age, they are not allowed to mention his name. But a judge, as you're aware, broke that protocol and said, in the public interest, the name of this person is being given, even though he has a few more months to attain the age of 18. So is there anything in there for us regarding this question between security people not wanting to show their complete hand and the credibility that they need from the public as well?
Yes, in investigating security matters or intelligence matters, at the preliminary stage, at the inception stage, when you have not gotten all the information, when you have not, concluded what is the circle, how many people are involved, you might hide some information. But the problem I'm having, I'm not talking only about this. It is a trend. It is a trend. Let me give you an example. Like, for example, for how long did we hear that a list of terrorist financiers have been given to us? Is it by United Arab Emirates? We dragged it and dragged it and dragged it. Now, even if you want to give the security agencies a benefit of doubt, you cannot continue holding. When you conclude your investigation, I don't see any harm in saying it's Mr. This and Mr. This or Chief This or Alhaji This that have been taken to court, and this is what we found on him. But if you just say people have been arrested and it goes like that, because I am talking in the knowledge that already there is a lack of trust between the government and the government in Nigeria. And that lack of trust, when I say between the government and the government, it means the government also and the government agencies. Whatever the police say, whatever the DSS say, I can assure you that first of all, 40% of Nigerians will disbelieve it. So if at the end, people wait, okay, we have arrested, like for example, now, we have arrested some Polish citizens, we have some people in diaspora, and this still finishes. We don't have a name, we don't have a face. Don't think that when next we are not hoping something happens like that, and you say you arrested people, people will believe you. They are not going to believe.
Yeah, it's about.
And at that time, I think we have passed the level where you say you are keeping the information because investigation is ongoing.
Okay,
but
let me bring in Ada. Ada has been waiting for quite a while. I beg your pardon, sir. Ada has been waiting for quite a while. Thank you for holding on, Ada. Please go ahead now.
Hello, good morning. Good morning to Group Captain, that is there, Sadiq. Yes, I've heard the Group Captain is making sense, especially this last remark he made. That's the impression most of us have as Nigerians, They keep on telling us they have arrested this and that outside sometimes. It's a nice day one. We don't hear about it again. But if I were President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that is not the issue. I'm not saying they should not go after anybody, but that's not the issue. Let him. The best way to defend our democracy is for good governance. Bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. Then this idea of they say they want to import food for the next 6 months or whatever. That will not even solve the problem. It's going to kill the local industries or whatever. Even within that 6 months, we can grow our own food. We have arable land that are begging for cultivation and all that, And whether he wants to listen to us or not, most of the hardship happening today that is threatening the democracy we're talking about, it revolves around that fuel. However he wants to do it, I don't know. All I know is that let him try and find a way of making fuel to be 300 naira per liter, and then the diesel, they have 400 or 500 naira per liter. And how he wants to do it, we don't want to know. That will now have impact on food, because food insecurity is the worst thing that can happen to any country, let me tell you. So we are talking about looting, this and that, protests becoming violent and all that. Is it not happening in the advanced countries? I'm not saying that people should loot, but that is what it is. So why don't you try and avoid it happening? Right. They gave a long notice. Why didn't they, deal with the matter? They were busy talking to traditional rulers to tell people not to even come out to protest in the first instance, instead of addressing the issues that was mentioned, That is what I don't like. And then they're talking about people disrupting the business. If you look at the whole thing, the most of the disruptions are sponsored. Who sponsored it? Is it not politicians? So let's call it a say. Let him treat the hunger in the land. A hungry man is an angry man, and is likely not to have respect for law, authority, or even humanity. All is the rest argument for Nigeria.
Thank you very much for calling in, Ada. She brought up quite a number of issues, all of which are related, talking about this hardship protest that is going on across the country, but in particular in the north. That's where it has sort of surprised people by the reaction of citizens over there, and in particular, underage people have just contributed to the sheer numbers, the visually disturbing pictures, and indeed actions of these people. Now, I just wanted to ask, Ada, for instance, has said that any way you look at this thing, you can trace it back to increased hardships as a result of the withdrawal of the subsidy and consequent increase in the price of fuel. And she said, and this probably gives an indication of the nature of the problem. I don't know how they're going to do it, but let them just find a way to do it. And this is the problem that government, that luxury government is not allowed. Government has been telling us what they've been telling us. What do you think that this protest sort of degenerated like this in the north? What do you think is the situation going on here? Was there intelligence? Was there not intelligence? Was there a failure of intelligence? These things, were the sponsors, could they not have been neutralized? The instigators? How good do you think our intelligence performance has been in relation to this protest, especially from what we are seeing in the north?
Well, definitely the protest, took different colors in different states or in different regions, even within the same north or south. Different states reacted differently concerning this protest. However, a keen observer would have known when you call a protest hardship protest against how people are suffering in Nigeria, the first indicator or the first intelligence, if at all, is not intelligence of weapons or arms, or this is intelligence of socio-economic indices. We have the NBS reeling out, and also the United Nations Development Fund, the UNDP, every year giving us, the indicators about socio-economic index. Is it in poverty? Is it in health? Is it in education? Is it out of school children? With due respect, unfortunately, all these indices, they are worst in the northern part. So it was logical to know that when you say there's going to be a protest on hardship, you expect the most volatile, reaction in those regions. So to me, as an observer, I think that is just what played out. All the indices I said is what came in. If you talk of children, it's the out-of-school children. It is the north, unfortunately, that has a lot of out-of-school children. They are the ones that their parents cannot afford to send them to school. They are the ones that the parents don't even have housing to give them. Some of the parents don't even know where the children are going. So this explains, the various pictures we saw across the country.
Yeah.
And then back to what.
Sorry, sir. I wanted you to spend a few seconds there. I wanted you to spend a few seconds there. The varying nature of the protests from place to place across the country, ending up principally in most chaos coming from the north. What is your read of that situation?
I'm saying the socioeconomic indicators, we saw them playing out in places where those indicators are very, very low. Whether you talk of health, whether you talk of school, whether you talk of education, this is what we see. Where you talk of index of poverty, lack of employment, I think we saw the regions that have the highest, the most affected, going out to go violently. Even having children on the streets, an indicator of a socioeconomic indicator, because if a parent has the money or has the wherewithal to keep his child in school, the child will not even be on the street to be used. However, again, I must condemn the irresponsibility of anybody who is in charge of a protest that allows children to come and be taking part. Because I said those children, what are they fighting? What do they even know what is going on? So there's an irresponsibility, but still, it's as a basis of a poor socioeconomic indices in those areas, and you can link it to bad governance. So in all honesty, whether Mr. President and other leaders, because when we say Mr. President, the point is being made that some of the problems are not solely at the federal level. you have the legislators, you have the state governors, you have the state governors who are very, very empowered now financially. They all have to take the blame for the failure of governance.
Okay, let me bring in Mazi Okorafor at this stage. I beg your pardon, sir. Sorry to have interrupted. Mazi Okorafor, good morning and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, my brother on the sky.
Good morning.
You see, the issue is this issue, whether protest or anything we call it, or crisis or anything, is preventable. We have to engage our children educationally. Let's assume that these children will engage especially those times the government normally give free food, at least which is the local government or state supposed to do. These children could have been engaged educationally, at least when maybe now they are on holiday. They could have gone home with assignments. Some of them could have gone with preparing for the new class. That new class they are preparing, it will injure them to do for programs like this, extramural classes like lessons, and equip themselves for the next academic session. But because those things are not those incentives that bring them to the school, which the government is supposed to, the state government and local government, to look at not depending on the federal government. Because when the child is engaged, I bet you, even these skill acquisition programs, ITF does that, CMD does this, other agencies, MDS does that. These children are engaged in skill acquisition in their religious organization, in their communities. They don't have time of going to do all this. Now you carrying flag of the country that you don't even know. What is the meaning of the flag you are carrying? If that will not withstand it, go and ask anybody that's school there how they pass, what they pass through in that very place. Is it easy for them? You are black. You are going to that place. They will really mark yourself as a non-indigent, which is a racism part of the world, which people are afraid of going. Even anybody that goes into school, when he comes back, that person is always very hard. Not to talk of telling hospital. Please, I'm just begging parents. Do not allow, I repeat, do not allow your children to be used as a weapon of mass destruction of their community.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mazi Okorafor. Really appreciate your coming on, and thank you very much for holding on when you did. Group Captain Sadiq Garba Shehu, who retired, to just end up on where we started from, this whole question about the military and security agencies reiterating their commitment to defend democracy. It's whereas it might be welcome, it's also a bit worrying that they came in and you've sort of spoken about it and spoke along those lines, but you said it is the nature of the beast. It's the situation that we find ourselves in and things that are going on social media that sort of compelled the military to speak, especially those who are saying, speaking about a government change. The military needed to come out and say, absolutely nothing, no deal, nothing. We're not interested. So you maintain that they did the right thing in that regard. I fear you might not have heard me. Group Captain, did you hear? Did you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I just.
Yes, you. Yes, go ahead.
I doubled back to where we began from, and you're defending or explaining the reason for the military to come out and make the statement that they were absolutely committed to democracy. In fact, they were reiterating their position. So you said that it was it was necessary. Yes. It was necessary in the circumstances.
It was necessary given our context in Nigeria, given the stage where our democracy is. Given the fact that also some of the demonstrators have come out to say we want military to come back. So like I said, there is the twin need first to dissuade those who think the military can come back, to tell them that, look, military does not take that beat. Secondly, to assure, and I'm sure the political masters, they are a bit jittery, so hearing the military come out and say we are not for it, that gives us some assurance. But I underline that in very well advanced democracies, that will not even be necessary.
Exactly.
It will not even be necessary.
Thank you very much for the context in which you put
advanced democracy,
it.
It will not,
we don't have any more time. We don't have
again.
any more time, Group Captain.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for making time for us this morning, Group Captain.
Yes.
Sadiq Garba Shehu, Security Consultant, CEO, Conflict Security and Development Consultants Limited. He's a former military man, and as he said, there are things that he's not in the military anymore, but these are his informed opinions based on his professionalism. Thank you very much once again, Group Captain, retired. Okay, that's our program. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folare.